The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
What's working on purpose anyway? Each week, we ponder the answer to this question. People ache for meaning and purpose at work, to contribute their talents passionately and know their lives really matter. They crave being part of an organization that inspires them and helps them grow into realizing their highest potential. Business can be such a force for good in the world, elevating humanity. In our program, we provide guidance and inspiration to help usher in this world we all want, working on purpose. Now, here's your host, Dr. Elise Cortez.
Hi there. Welcome back to the Working on Purpose program. Thanks for tuning in again this week. Great to have you. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez, joining you live from Dallas, which is home base for me. If you don't know me yet, I'm a management consultant specializing in meaning and purpose, organizational logotherapist, inspirational speaker, social scientist, and author. I help companies discover and articulate their purpose and thread it through their culture and operations. I work with organizations to develop inspirational leaders who create cultures where people actually want to come to work and do their best. And I provide programs like the Grab Your Gusto that enable individual team members to discover and unleash their passion and purpose at work to catalyze fulfillment, engagement, and productivity. You can learn more about me and how we can work together at elisecortez.com and gusto-now.com. With us today is Cindy Tysinger. She is the founder and the chief culture officer of Regenerous, a woman-owned, woman-led, heart-centered, and science-based social impact community. Cindy and team are based in Denton, Texas, just north of Dallas, but today she's joining us from the road in Wisconsin, where she is conducting some events to showcase her company and products. Cindy, welcome to Working on Purpose.
Thank you. It's my pleasure and an honor to be here.
So great to have you. First, let's just give a couple shout outs to you, my dear, because ladies and gentlemen, those of you joining in via video on the YouTube channel, or if you're joining through one of the other audio channels where this program is syndicated, my scheduled guest let me know, unfortunately, yesterday that she has COVID. This is the times that we live in today. And so I had the wonderful opportunity to cross paths with the Cindy Tysinger in front of you in a conscious capitalism workshop I was facilitating here in Dallas on stakeholder mapping. She was there. Oh my gosh, talk about an exuberant student. So happy to be able to really develop her purpose and string it through all of her stakeholders. So that's how I met her. So yesterday afternoon, I reached out to her and I called her and said, hey, how would you like to come and share what you're up to on Working on Purpose? It seems to fit perfectly. No idea what you're up to. And this woman valiantly responds sometime late in the evening. I am juggling a few balls, but yes, and yes, I'll be there. So Cindy, to making things happen in the world, being you and living and working on purpose, welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so great to have you. So in this episode, what we want to do is we want to learn how this baby of yours came to be. So first, tell us, what is Regenerous?
Regenerous is the synergy of being both regenerative and generous in all that we do. And, we believe really strongly in profit, but we want to make sure we look at people, animals, and planet before profit. So every aspect of our business, we want to make sure we're doing everything possible to make things better than it was and be generous in everything we do.
I like it already. Fantastic start. So let's talk a little bit about where it came from. I remember in our workshop, you had mentioned you have a very long career in something totally different that you have evolved past. So maybe it would be great to just kind of sketch a bit of the story of your previous professional history before you founded Regenerous.
Thank you. Well, I've always had a love for technology, interesting enough, starting very young. I was 16 in the civil service for the Army Department of Defense in DC. So I actually started in, basic computer programming for the Army. when I was in 19, I'm going to date myself, 74. So I had a wonderful career. I had great mentors. Of course, I'm female, and a technology industry is quite male dominant, as well as being in the military side of it, even more so. But it was something that really, truly, my father was 32 years military, so I aspired to, serve my country in the ways that I could. A health challenge that I was born with didn't allow me to join the service, so I was on the sides, finding ways that I could serve our country and support in all the work my dad was doing. So I actually spent 25 years, 17 years in the Navy contracts, and 8 years Army. So this girl who's doing regenerative and generous things now was next to aircraft carriers, torpedoes, and planes, and all types of things before I moved into the private sector. So that was all the way through about 96, 97. And I scaled all the way through a high-level executive. In 2000, I actually took the Chief Technology Officer's position, or CIO, of a supplement company. I've always had a love for health and wellness. I healed myself, and I want people to take responsibility and be an advocate for their own care and their family. So in 96, I started with a company really utilizing their products, fell in love with the changes that we're making as a result of a very unique aloe plant, and it changed my life. So I took over the CTO position, leaving the government side, and we helped the executive team grow to a little over 400 million and opened 26 countries, with the base product being this amazing aloe. And I was there all the way through 2008. So I have been every aspect of technology and business development and being in the C-suite and, having great experiences traveling internationally in the world.
Okay, so a couple of things we have to call out, Cindy. So we already know that we're sitting or looking at somebody who's already unusual. Let's just call out first. You get into IT in 1974 as a woman.
Yes.
That's already unusual and very different. That was not a woman's world back then.
No.
That's the first thing. And then secondly, you rose to very high executive ranks as such, also not usual. Okay. And you did it in an industry that would seem like a really unusual place to do it, which is amazing to me. So what I already know is that we're talking to somebody who either doesn't see barriers or somehow expected something more of yourself than culture did. So how do you explain all of these unusual advances in yourself?
I think I've always been one. I think a great lesson from my dad, which is my hero, of do a good job, do it better than they're expecting it. So obviously in service, and have the courage to try anything. And so I think that really served me well. Is if I didn't know how to do something, I figured it out, or I asked for help and wanted to learn it, through a mentor. Back then, it was pretty much all male mentors in the military side, but I was very blessed to have some really incredible men that wanted women to succeed in the industry I was, and they were supporting me. So I was grateful for that. But I'm one that says, if someone tells me no or it can't be done, I find a way usually to do it. I don't give up easily.
So when you talk about men helping you and some strong mentors who really wanted to see women succeed as well, I want to harken back to Colonel Kim Olson, who was a colonel in the Air Force. She flew planes when women didn't do those things. And she says something similar. She said, I do need to credit and thank the enlightened men along the way who helped me, helped lift me, guide me, encouraged me, and showed me a way. So I really want to call that out, the importance of mentors and also enlightened people in general that help each other up, right? So that's something about your background that we have to call out, and that you appreciate that so generously as you do, I think is really important.
Yes, I've stayed friends. I still am in contact with them to this day, and many of them were older than me. And it was interesting when I was in my young 20s, and I had about a staff of 80 engineers, and it was very interesting because I was so young, but had great respect from starting so young. So you think when I started at 16, I was already 5 years into technology, and when they grasped it quite quickly. So I had great respect early on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about as we start really understanding and peeling the layers back of just how this thing came to be is if we do the math here, Cindy, you had a full, let's call it almost a quarter of a century in technology, and then now here we are almost another quarter, 20 years into the next. So how come you don't want to just sit back and watch and go play in your garden or play golf or travel?
I do want to travel, so I do make sure that the new company aligns with that quite well.
Okay, good, excellent.
But yes, I'm just not one. My husband's always said, you learned years ago, we've been married 30 years. And he's like, I can never keep up with you. You're like an Energizer bunny. So I just let you be who you are. And I just, I love life and I love helping people. And I'm just really blessed to have had a great opportunity in my life to see and do quite a bit of things. And at this juncture, I started my own private technology company, which we'll talk about soon at 50, and then Regenerous at 60. So I've promised my husband I'm not going to start another business at 70.
We'll see. Yeah.
This business is, but I just don't see it. I mean, I bring work and life and joy and happiness all together, and I work with my family. And so you can imagine that just is so inspiring. Seeing I've got 4 generations in my latest company, so it's fantastic.
There's so much to peel back here. This is so great. Okay, so if I understood it right, you started Regenerous a couple of years ago. Is that right?
In
Okay.
2017 is when I got the calling to step outside technology and take on a whole new way to do business back then, because there wasn't many companies out there that were doing businesses that are a force for good. There's some wonderful ones out there like Patagonia, Ben and Jerry's, and all that. And I aspired to be a B Corp from the beginning. And so I was just looking for a way to take this next chapter of my life where I could travel the world through the health and wellness and beauty industry. And through our nonprofit, Regenerous Cares, we will be able to make a difference in every aspect that we do. And so whether I'm sourcing products or serving orphanages or, anything that I'm in between, I'm going to be traveling just what I love and with family.
Okay. So now let's talk just a little bit about just where the idea came from. Why does this company exist?
Oh, thank you. So after, it'd be about 10 years after I started my technology company, and we had about 44 employees. I felt around, it was around Father's Day and Mother's Day when I turned 60 that year. I was told I was going to be a Nona, which is a grandmother for the very first time. And something just hit me as like, I've raised my children. They're adults. They actually run my tech company now. I'm just the chairwoman of the board and founder, and I'm involved, in that aspect. That company does all my technology for my current company, so we're still very closely connected. And then once you're family with employees, you're always that. So, but when I learned I was going to be a grandchild, I somehow in a vision or a dream, I was like holding my grandchild for the first time, just all in love and happy and joyful. And then my heart just went to, what is this world going to look like? And his name had already been Rowan. And I was like, what is this world going to look like for Rowan and future generations? And if I don't do something now at 60 to try to be the change that I want to see in the world, then shame on me. So that's kind of what started the idea of I need to do something and I need to step out of running a tech company.
So this is a perfect conversation on the heels of the one we had last week. I had 2 rabbis on last week, Rabbi Malka Drucker and Nadia Gross, and we were talking about their book and their work, really celebrating the notion of going from aging to saging, and that there's so much wisdom and experience that we can leverage as we progress through life, and certainly on the other half of life. And I care about that, Cindy, because I want more people to, there's so much, look what you're doing. You're delivering all of these years, these decades of what you learned to be able to create this company for your future family and generations. If you decided to go ahead and just, as I said before, just do whatever your hobbies were, whatever those are, and not do this, we would all miss this gift. You wouldn't get the opportunity to give your gifts and get the vitality that comes from being of service and living in self-transcendence, which we know through logotherapy, and we wouldn't get the benefit of what you've created. Wow.
Please.
Yeah. So all that for you listeners and viewers, any of you who are, navigating the other side of the needle in life, as I am, as Cindy is, right? This is an opportunity for you to hope that you see your life and your opportunity differently through this lens. That this is, you're not, please don't just retire at 62 or 65. It actually is terminal. Really, it is. So, there's so much for you to learn. You don't have to go start a company like Cindy has, but there's so much you can do to continue providing your experience and your wisdom that we all need. So I really want to put that out there as an invitation. You are a living example of that, Cindy. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I want to talk more about just what this company does, and also I want to talk more about all of these different things that you're doing, which are such beautiful expressions of conscious capitalism and becoming a B Corp. But before we get into that, so we can treat them all fully, let's grab our first break.
Dr. Elise Cortez is a management consultant specializing in meaning and purpose, an inspirational speaker and author. She helps companies visioneer for greater purpose among stakeholders and develop purpose-inspired leadership and meaning-infused cultures that elevate fulfillment, performance, and commitment within the workforce. To learn more or to invite Elise to speak to your organization, please visit her at elisecortez.com. Let's talk about how to get your employees working on purpose. This is Working on Purpose with Dr. Elise Cortez. To reach our program today or to open a conversation with Elise, send an email to Elise, A-L-I-S-E, at elisecortez.com. Now, back to Working on Purpose.
Thanks for staying with us and welcome back to Working on Purpose. Before we get back into the program and talk again with Cindy, I do want to invite you to check out the book that I put out last fall of 2020. It's called Purpose Ignited: How Inspiring Leaders Ignite Passion and Elevate Cause. I wrote that really to awaken readers to their passion and purpose and help transform them into inspirational leaders who enliven the workplace and elevate the contribution of business to all its stakeholders. And I use this content in my consulting and also my Vitally Inspired Leadership program and your Grab Your Gusto program. And I just have to share really quick. I gave a copy of this book when I was traveling from Portland, Oregon, back home to Dallas to a woman I met, of course, at the bar. We were talking about what we each did. And she took it, and we each got on the plane. We then saw each other in baggage claim in Dallas when we landed back in Dallas. And she came up and she goes, Elise, I'm halfway through your book. I love it. Could we talk about maybe you helping us at our company? And I said, of course. And thus we are. So I want you to know that it's a way for us to be able to do our work together if you start reading it. So thank you in advance for picking it up. If you are just joining the program, my guest today is Cindy Tysinger. She's the founder and chief culture officer of Regenerous. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. So you said a lot in our first segment there, Cindy, about where this came from, the foundation in which this was all born. And so there's so much, what I appreciate about what you're doing, among other things, is there's so much beautiful intentionality in this. You want to be able to lift all four generations working within the organization. You want to become a certified benefit corporation, which is the B Corp status you're talking about. And you're also going toward social impact community dedicated to improving the lives of people across the world by distributing the highest quality natural products and services through a sales network that economically empowers independent and purpose-driven entrepreneurs. It is so beautiful. And so what I want you to talk about is, the architecture of this company. There's so many moving parts to it, and every single part, it seems to me, no wonder you're in the stakeholder mapping workshop, really trying to appeal to all these people that you're trying to serve. Talk to us a bit about how did you come up with the idea to make it so robust and to really be so intentional about serving all those stakeholders?
Thank you. Well, I bring it back to, I think I shared a little bit with you, Elise. I was in Harvard in 2017, in August of 2017, taking a a high growth business growth. They selected women businesses from around the US and brought us to Harvard. And it was to actually grow my tech company. And I was sitting in the class and they started talking about the IBM's turnaround. And I worked with IBM. I knew very much about a lot of their work from the years that I was in Department of Defense, read the book already, The Elephants Can Dance. And so I just kind of tuned out, and all of a sudden this vision came in my mind, and I drew Regenerous. And everything kept coming to me, and I drew it on the notepad that was in front of me. And I had a colleague, another woman business owner, that I actually was very close to. My tech company was her client. I'm sorry, she was my client. And when I was working with her, and she's just like, where were you? And I looked down at what I kind of had drawn, and starting with a circle in the center of heart. My middle name, or my maiden name, is Love. And so I started with heart, and being regenerative and generous was something I had been studying. I've always been conscious that way. And so, we had kept thinking of the name. So Regenerous is what we landed on. And I thought, this is Regenerous. This is perfect, the way I'd drawn it. And it was actually quite extensive. When you run a company all the way to 400 million, you have a lot of experience starting from a startup all the way up. So I grew, like a 5 to 10 year plan of what Regenerous would look like. We just crossed over year 4, but year 3 and actually servicing. We started with selling products. The first product that went out, I knew I had to make money, was actually my life story, my health journey of healing my own body. At 36, I was on 12 medications and quite sickly from my childhood disease. And I'm now at 63 on no medications. So I really did my work around health and wellness to find how could I heal myself. And I kept helping so many people during my career in technology. So I started there thinking, nourish oneself to nourish others. So if we can get ourselves healthy by taking responsibility, by looking at, there's a place for Western medicine. I'm not, saying it's evil or anything like that, but it really needs to be functional and integrative, so that you can look for the ways to be more preventative and proactive. Because much of the root of so much disease is inflammation and how we don't take care of ourselves, not moving and all that. So I wanted to make sure that I could teach people wellness, and starting with themselves. So we started with one product. It was kind of my health, and it was hemp, aloe, and ginger/turmeric. So all of these, if you think of these amazing plants that have been on this planet for centuries, they were all designed around healing. And that is what healed me, actually taking that. So I started with that product. It kind of took off quite quickly. Then I knew sleep was another issue, that we're so sleep deprived as a society. And if people could get good quality sleep in their cycles, then they can repair and restore. Again, another way to heal themselves. So I started with them with second product. So when I took that heart-centered Regenerous Cares, everything we do is regenerative, regenerous. So sourcing the aloe, I've been involved with sourcing aloe since the 90s, because it changed my life. And we feed orphans around the world in 90 countries. There are probably 14 million orphans that we have provided a hope blend to through the company I was the CTO of. And I have continued that in my current company through utilizing that very unique aloe in my products.
Oh, my word, woman. Okay, so
sorry, that's a lot.
No, but don't apologize. I just am so taken aback by what you're doing and so inspired by it. It's so beautiful. And I just love getting to share with my listeners all over the world, because we all need a hand up. We all need help to understand that we can do and be so much more. And so, so much of what I'm doing, Cindy, you might remember, is
Yes.
I'm helping people to awaken to their passion and their purpose, that they can do more. And that when they do more, they're going to have a lot more energy. They're going to feel so much more alive and vibrant. And so what's interesting about your story, listening to you, is one of the paths to purpose is handling and learning and teaching that which has ailed us. We've learned how to deal with something that was like a long-term problem in our lives. Like for me, the longest time I was struggling to find meaning and purpose. Well, I have spent 20 some years working on that, and now today I teach you what I learned, because it ailed me like a monster around my throat.
Mm-hmm.
So your health, that you learned all of these things to be able to better steward your own health, and now have created products and teach others to do the same, seems to me to smack of a very similar sort of line.
Exactly. It definitely does. And that was the first phase of the company, was, get cash coming into the company, and, improving folks' health so that they can share with others. And then I had developed different partnerships. So we have Regenerous Shares. Regenerous Shares, we have practitioners, we have affiliates, we have ambassadors, and each of them, have a pay structure that we compensate for sharing our products with others, and so that we can grow. Very compliantly, being very careful with no medical claims or health claims. It is all about bringing the body into balance or homeostasis and improving quality of life to live more vibrantly. Because if you're healthy and you feel wonderful, you can do anything it feels like, right? So, but if you're being caught, like an anchor around you with a disease or energy or whatever it could be, lack of sleep, you're not functioning at your optimal level.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I go back to how intentional you're being about lifting all these boats, lifting all these stakeholders. So what you just described at your business model, then your sales network that economically empowers independent and purpose-driven entrepreneurs. So you've given a path for people to become self-employed or entrepreneurs by joining your affiliation, your network.
Correct.
So can you talk to us a bit about, what does that network look like? I mean, and where is it? Is it all over the world? Is it in concentrated regions?
Well, we started in the US first, and I wanted to get the foundation stable and roll a few more of the phases of the company out before we kind of stepped our toe in the water. We are delivering some products in Australia and Canada at this point. So we will go there eventually. And as I shared with you, the company that I was 13 years the CTO, we are in 26 countries. So I have that experience of sourcing and technology and multi-currency and multilingual and all that our websites will become. But I wanted to make sure that we had really everybody on board with and I'm all about, we love rising together. So if we collectively can each do our part, whether you're a practitioner and you're using it to help your patients or your clients, or whether you're an affiliate who is looking for hobby, part-time or a full-time income, all of those are available depending upon the work or effort they want to put in. So we provide training, support, and everything that they need. That's why I'm here. We have an affiliate here in Wisconsin and another one in Minneapolis. So I'm here helping her. She works full-time and is very successful IT project manager, but her desire is to really run our Regenerous Cares nonprofit one day. So she's looking to transition over full time into Regenerous so that she can truly live out her passion. And I'm excited to stand beside her and help her do that.
Mm-hmm. So I've had many other people on my radio talking about the importance of passion and profit, or purpose and profit, purpose and profit. And I remember distinctly in one of our conversations where there were other people present, there were some people that didn't quite understand that whole notion of purpose and serving the community or the planet.
Yes.
So I want you to speak to this notion that, you've got a dedicated arm or effort to be able to feed these orphans in these 90 different countries. Where did that specific contribution come from? Why orphans and why feeding?
Yes, growing up, even I'm one that moved out young, no surprise there, to heal myself. I moved out when I was still in high school and moved to California to find a path forward. And so even in my teenage years, I just really had a passion and love for children, and especially those that really need a hand. And I want them to have hope that their current circumstances is not necessarily setting them up for their future circumstances, and that there is hope and possibilities. And some of the basic needs is nutrition. When I was the CTO of the company, the founder was an amazing gentleman, and he had been serving orphans as well as I had in a small way, but his in a much larger way. And when we utilized the aloe, we saw the significant difference that was being made with children, and the deaths or fractures and things that were happening in the orphans and the children were, significantly reduced to, 30 deaths a year went to zero, utilizing the Hope Blend with aloe and multivitamins and minerals that could really serve the children. So if the food that's being provided is not nutritious and it's not balanced, as well as a lot of people like to send, but it's not healthy food that they send. Might fill the belly, but it really is not nutritious. So this Hope Blend has just really been an amazing, I've been involved since 96. And I've just always loved to help children. I've just had a passion for children. And so when I decided the products, aloe would always be there. Since 96, I would never go off of that. And I wanted to bring it to the next level with these new synergistic product blends that I had discovered working with naturopaths, herbalists, and homeopathics, and all of that going, what if we did this? What if we did that? Because our products are unique. There's not anything on the market, especially my wellness line, because that's where my history is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it kind of started. And so when I source, it's another fun story, helichrysum, I source from Croatia. This is 3 sisters that work in their business, and they harvest the helichrysum in beautiful Krka, a national park, as well as farmland that they have there. When they do that, they actually employ 1,000 migrant workers twice a year. These 2 countries were at war. Their distillery, you have to walk on a path because there's mines still there when you go there. I mean, these women, 3 sisters, one heads marketing, one is production, one is kind of accounting and operations. And they're just, they got their enemies got stuck there after the war, in the Bosnian War in the 90s. So they just, olive branch out there and found a way to work together. And that's their only source of income. So I like to find hero ingredients for our products that I know will heal your body, but source them in a conscious way.
Did you say find hero ingredients?
Yes.
I thought you did.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The ones that are truly making the difference. So in the body, because the body can heal if it's provided the right nutrients.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll talk further about this, but let's grab our final break. I'm your host, Elise Cortez. We were on the air with Cindy Tysinger. She's the founder and chief culture officer at Regenerous. We've been talking about her own background, where this came from, and really what makes this company so incredibly dynamic. We'll hear more after the break. Stay with us.
Dr. Elise Cortez is a management consultant specializing in meaning and purpose, an inspirational speaker and author. She helps companies visioneer for greater purpose among stakeholders and develop purpose-inspired leadership and meaning-infused cultures that elevate fulfillment, performance, and commitment within the workforce. To learn more or to invite Elise to speak to your organization, please visit her at elisecortez.com. Let's talk about how to get your employees working on purpose. This is Working on Purpose with Dr. Elise Cortez. To reach our program today or to open a conversation with Elise, send an email to Elise, A-L-I-S-E, at elisecortez.com. Now, back to Working on Purpose.
Thanks for staying with us and welcome back to Working on Purpose. One other bit of news that I want to share with you that I'm really excited and proud of is that I have just released an anthology that I've curated. I spent 2 years on this. It's called Passionately Striving and Why, an anthology of women who persevere mightily to live their purpose. And what I did was I got recruited to do this. And my publisher said, hey, I want you to curate this series, make it about women. I don't care what the topic is. I said, of course, it's going to be about purpose. So I went and recruited 25 women from all over the world to share their very intimate stories of how they discovered their purpose and are now serving from it. And I am so proud of it because we literally are reaching a hand across the globe to showcase our examples, our stories in order to help lift more people in their lives. So very proud of it. It's out there now. Please take a look at that as well. If you're just joining us now, my guest today is Cindy Tysinger. She's the founder and chief culture officer of Regenerous, a woman-owned, woman-led, heart-centered, and science-based social impact community. I'm your host, Dr. Elise Cortez. So I just, as I said many times before, I feel like your approach to creating this thing and running it is just so thoughtful. And what I want to emphasize about that, Cindy, and really showcase for our listeners and viewers is really just how much you can do with business. Business is an amazing force and can be such a force for good, especially when you're so thoughtful and intentional about it. So I'm interested in hearing, and I also love what you said before the break, was that you only source hero products, hero ingredients. And so then I have to ask is, how do you go finding all of those really interesting suppliers?
Well, it depends upon the products we're manufacturing and what would be best in them. So each one, it's got its unique story. How it finds me, I believe, in some cases. Sometimes I'll find a product and develop a product around it because I love the source of it and the
Hmm.
give back that's involved with it. So, but I have a lot of contacts. So when I'm speaking to the herbalists or my manufacturers, they're all CGMP manufacturers. I work with them to say, okay, how our wellness products especially are so unique and different. They're synergistic blends that folks aren't doing, and they're delivered liposomally. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Mm-mm.
that, Dr. Elise, but when you actually swallow a capsule, you can efficacy wise, you can only absorb very little, 9 to 15% of what is in that capsule based on your stomach acid. So what you need to do is find a way to actually absorb it into the body without having to go through the stomach. So the more newer technologies is liposomal, where they actually inject the hero ingredients into a cell membrane, and then it's put in it's suspended in a phosphorylated choline, which is safflower, and you put it under your tongue. You hold it for about 30 seconds. It absorbs immediately into your body, into your bloodstream, so that you can actually feel and really fully utilize it to its full extent. So I wanted to make sure I had a liposomal line. And I used to take handfuls of pills for supplements to heal myself. And now I'm down to the supplements that I have designed and a few vitamins. I'm working with my manufacturer on the necessary ones like a multivitamin, D3K2, zinc, the things that we know we all should be taking, but I want to do it liposomally. So that's kind of one thing that's different about us as well. I do it through the skincare line. We have an amazing certified non-toxic skincare line. So we're definitely not doing harm to the environment with something that's certified non-toxic. And it uses oleosomes, so which is similar to the way it absorbs into the skin, like liposomes absorb, so that you truly are getting the best quality and the best absorption and efficacy. So I'm just all about what is in that product, and what is on that label has to match, and that we make sure we do that through third-party quality assurance labs to validate and verify.
Okay. Okay, so I want to hit two other things on this. So, here you are talking about this supplier in Croatia. So, one of the things we were doing in that stakeholder mapping exercise was really giving thought and consideration to how do we really help honor each of those stakeholders. Now we're talking about your suppliers right now, and elevate them and align them with your purpose. And so it strikes me as you talk about that you have given them a channel, a very unique channel, a robust channel for them to contribute what they're doing in the world, which seems to me as a way to elevate them. Is that what's happening here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really excited, and that's why I enjoyed your class so much, because I have so many stakeholders.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, I don't even know how to count them all.
Yes, and we actually, the next phase that we're just in the process of doing is the mindful marketplace, and the mindful marketplace is taking it to the next level. So if you can imagine, it may be small businesses, women-owned businesses especially, that will partner with that have a conscious business, and we make sure that they're doing no harm with their business. And we will then take their products and put them on our e-commerce platform to help them get obviously more visibility of their brand. It's on their label, and we'll have their story and information about the give backs they're doing, as well as what their products and how they're serving others. And so we'll have a whole line of businesses that will be on our platform, as well as those that are in these countries, such as orphanages that we're working with, and they are making jewelry or something that they're doing that we can put on our platform to actually raise more money for their nonprofit. So we're going to have nonprofits coming online, and we're going to have women-owned businesses, local businesses, small businesses, so that people can truly trust that if they shop on regenerous.com, then they know that we've done our due diligence. We've looked at their, kind of their source, their supply chain line, and making sure that it fits in alignment with our intention and our purpose, and help raise them up. So we truly do rise together. So whether they're using our products or we're selling their products, we're looking at truly just to consciously, and I think collaboration is the next currency. It's all about collaborating and rising together.
I had a great guest on my show named Paul Skinner from the United Kingdom a couple of years ago. He's become a friend of mine. He wrote a book called the collaborative advantage, how collaboration beats competition. And so, yeah, I think more and more people are seeing that. And I think we saw this in the pandemic. People, organizations that would otherwise not have any interest in reaching across the aisle to others did so during the pandemic, to partner, to innovate together, to share resources. And, look what happened. So
Exactly.
it's pretty amazing. So that, but it's so interesting to see just how I appreciate that. It seems like at every juncture, you have applied like a multiplier of an effect of sorts to continue to elevate your impact, which is really impressive.
That is my hope. And I'm surrounded by amazing thought leaders. In most cases, it's a volunteer workforce. As you can say, they're independent. So, we're aligned in the heart and aligned with what we want to do in this world. So I feel blessed and very grateful that those that have come and those who are yet to meet us and understand us, like through this show, I'm blessed to have met you, and you invite me on the show. I'm just so grateful. Thank you for all your help during that class. It really had me thinking between my Regenerous Cares nonprofit as well as Regenerous Cares and all my stakeholders, how do I talk to them and how do I make sure at every aspect it's a win-win, and that, together we're doing more, but at the end, the result, obviously the prize is the impact that we're making.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. No doubt. Okay, so we're getting close to the end of the show here, but I want to have you talk about the fact that you say there are 4 generations working with you. That is so incredible and hard for a lot of the listeners and viewers to probably manage, because a lot of people have a hard time dealing with anybody beyond their own generation or just to the next. So who are these 4 generations? How are they working with you?
Well, it's quite cool. There's actually 5 generations on the product, but 4 generations kind of working in the business. So my mother starts it. And so she is on the product. She shares it. So she's an affiliate partner of ours and sharing. And she's so proud of her. When I decided to do this, my sister, Brenda, she retired from a very successful career in hospitality industry. And she thought she was going to sit back in 2016 and do what you were suggesting. And I said, hey, how would you like to do this with me? And we, got kind of separated as kids at 16 or 17 and went after our careers. And although we're close, now we're like 2 teenagers again running Regenerous. So it's my sister and I working together, and she's our chief people officer. So she does more of the HR and training and that because of her industry. And then we have her daughter, and her daughter is a school teacher that now runs like training and all this. So Jessica is the 3rd generation. My daughter-in-law is Tiffany, and she is a celebrity makeup artist. So the skincare line was the kind of the brainchild of Tiffany and Jessica going, this wellness thing is really cool, but what we're interested in is really clean skincare. And my daughter-in-law, that's a celebrity makeup artist, said we really need this. People are putting so much toxins on their face. So that's the 3rd generation. And Jessica, my niece, she's a 2nd year college in North Carolina. She's studying PR and marketing and all that. She does all her social media and TikTok and all the great things there. So she's beautiful. And so there's 4 generations. And the 5th generations is my grandchildren have been on the product since the womb, and they're still on it now, and they're 3 and 1. So we truly do have 5 generations.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's such a beautiful threading effect. So I want to just start to close out the show here by learning a little bit about what are you really proud of here? In other words, what's meaningful to you in this, what you have created and what you're doing? What does it mean to you?
Gosh, there's just so many aspects of, I know we have so much more to do, and, I'm with this one that's, it could go faster. So I'd like to do more. But there's so many touch points, whether it's a business that might have been going under, but we gave them some visibility. So that business now was able to survive COVID, whether we, source some products for manufacturing or help them get exposure. That is heartwarming to me. Also, the product testimonials, when I hear life-changing testimonials from someone that has been suffering for a long time, there's nothing better than that, giving someone help in their quality of life. And then obviously every aspect, we've done 50 nonprofits since we started. The team of our whole that we talk about, this social impact community, we all get together, and whether it's something urgent that needs like firefighting in Australia or wherever, that's where we give. And so we kind of get consensus, and you feel good in making a difference, whether it's the planet, animals, or people, and children especially.
I thank you so very much, Cindy, for making yourself available to share what you're up to. It has been phenomenal to hear your story. And I will tell you very candidly, off the charts, more than I fully understood and expected. And I really thank you for what you're doing, who you're being in the world, and the example of your story and your person. Thank you for being on Working on Purpose.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for what you're doing, because we need businesses to be on purpose. You know, I believe this in my entire career, and the success, I think, is a result of me just caring about every employee, whether it was one that worked for me or just in the company. People, want to work for somebody if they know you care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So listeners and viewers, if you want to learn more about Cindy, her team, and the work they're doing together, visit their website. It's regenerous.com. Let me spell it for you. It's also on the screen, but it's regenrus.com. Last week, if you missed the live show, you can always catch it via recorded podcast. We were on the air with Rabbis Malka Drucker and Nadia Gross talking about their book and the work they're doing to help people around the world with their second half of life to thrive, live with purpose, and contribute their wisdom and experience meaningfully at work. Next week, we'll be on the air with William Smith, who has discovered and uses 9 elements of purpose to increase results and impact in organizations. He's been working on this for decades. We'll learn about his research and his work that he's spent his life devoted to. See you there. Remember that work is at least a third of our life, so let's work on purpose.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's program. Be sure to tune into Working on Purpose, featuring your host, Dr. Elise Cortez, each week on W4CY. Together, we'll create a world where business operates conscientiously, leadership inspires impassioned performance, and employees are fulfilled in work that provides the meaning and purpose they crave. See you there. Let's work on purpose.